Well, as you may know, Jim, we are making an extensive tour of the district, talking to people, traveling in our campaign bus. We've talked to every single precinct chairman in the 24th Congressional District as far as Dallas County is concerned. We're talking with others later. And everywhere we're going, we're finding that Dale Milford has been talking with precinct chairmen, he has been talking with business leaders, community leaders in the cities where we've been going, and telling them that he is a candidate.
Well, what is wrong with soliciting support as long as he is not publicly known to be a candidate?
I don't think there's anything at all wrong with soliciting support, but he has been telling them that he is a candidate, and I believe that according to the Fair Practices Committee of the FCC, that this would be in violation of that.
Have you talked to Mike Shapiro?
No, I haven't.
Are you going to?
After our conference here today, yes. If the steps are not taken, I would speak with Mike Shapiro.
What steps?
Well, if Mr. Milford doesn't announce one way or the other about his candidacy.
By when?
I think that it'd be unfair to place a deadline on it, but I think that he should do it very soon, possibly by early part of next week. It'd be, I think, fair as far as I'm concerned.
And if he does not make some public statement pro or con by then, you will go to Mr. Shapiro and or the FCC?
Yes, we will take measures at that time.
Mr. Milford, are you or are you not a candidate for that 24th Congressional District seat?
It's much premature to answer that question at this time, because I don't know.
Well, now, Mr. Gilley says you have been talking to political leaders in that district and have on occasion said, I am a candidate. How do you respond to that?
About 3 weeks ago, I was asked by some grassroots individuals to consider running for the 24th Congressional District. It was out of the blue as far as I was concerned, and at their request, I visited privately with some grassroots organizations within the district, with individuals and with party members or party officials.
But have you ever said, I am a candidate?
No, the only thing I've said to the individuals and the groups was that I would first have to have a feeling from the district, because quite frankly, this is kind of like a calling. Either the district wants you and you can do the job they want done, or you got no business getting into it. It's not something you jump out and say, look, I want to be it, because I wouldn't want to be it unless people says, I want you to be it.
Mr. Gilley says that if by the first of the week you have not formally announced that you are or are not a candidate for this seat, that he will go to Mike Shapiro, the Vice President and General Manager of your station, and or to the Federal Communications Commission, and actively seek your removal from the air. Will you make such a statement by that time?
No, I seriously doubt it. It would be impossible to get the feedback from the 24th District that would provide me with knowing whether or not I would want to be a candidate. And for that reason, I couldn't declare in that length of time.
When that gavel calls the chamber to order Monday, Dallas City Councilmen had better be prepared to clear the decks for action, because they're going to face opposition and pressure on City Councilman George Allen's open housing ordinance. Allen has faced probable defeat in the past, but with such statements as this one from Councilman Jerry Gilmore issued today, Allen is more confident that he has support for his ordinance. Gilmore says in the statement he's convinced that open housing exists in Dallas, but he continues, unfortunately, that fact has not been properly communicated to minorities who have remained fearful of moving out of an all-minority community. Councilman Allen counts 8 council votes with him. I counted only 3, and a telephone poll today, but I could not reach all the city councilmen. Some are out of town. Allen says he's extremely confident.
It's inconceivable to me, first of all, that any person who already enjoys a right, as the white councilmen do, would cast a vote that would deny this right to any citizen of a minority community. This I can't believe, and I don't think they'll do it. Then it's also inconceivable to me that anybody who's against busing in the public schools would be against this ordinance. I just can't understand this.
The opposition maintains that there is, in fact, open housing in Dallas now, and that there is already federal law about it. We don't need a city ordinance.
Oh, I've heard this. This is simply a gimmick that they're using to try to have something to hang their hats on. But the truth is, the federal housing law does not have any fines connected with it.
It's somewhat of an open secret that opponents of the open housing ordinance intend to bring recall petitions against any city councilman who vote for it. That could include 8 or perhaps even more city councilmen. Councilman George Allen, who is going to propose that ordinance, says he doesn't care. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move in the Dallas City Council chambers.
I don't, expect to come back and put anybody out there, out of their position. I would like to work myself back into the lineup and, hopefully do a good enough job to have the other two alternating. But, you never can tell what's going to happen.
That beard has been on and off again about 3 or 4 times this year, hasn't it?
Well, this is the first time it's been on, since the season began. I had it twice before training camp started, and, the only reason I grew it, I was saying I was going to let it grow until I got activated, thinking I'd be out maybe 1 or 2 weeks. But, as it turned out, I was out 4 or 5.
Well, do you plan to shave it off if you are activated?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I can't, it itches when you start perspiring, and it's pretty tough.
Doesn't the helmet, or what, just the itching is what bothers you?
Well, the itching bothers me. Also, you have a chance, problem of getting, dirt in your beard, and your helmet rubbing up against there. You can cause an irritation or some sort of infection. But I just grew it because I wasn't doing anything else, and hopefully by the end of this week I will be doing something else and I can get rid of it.
Representatives of the Fort Worth Police Association will present to the City Council Monday a list of what they call urgent needs of the police department. A special meeting by the Police Association was held this afternoon here at the Police Training Center. Afterwards, an association officer, B.W. Burkhart, said no news release will be made before the City Council meeting Monday. Burkhart did say that the association will not make any demands of the Council, only that a list of urgent needs will be presented, asking that the Council recognize and take action on those needs. Detective Burkhart said another meeting of the 639-strong Police Association will be held this evening to formulate the final request to be made Monday. Among the urgent needs to be on the list, according to earlier reports, will be an increase in pay, a request denied in the new city budget approved only 2 months ago. Others will probably include more policemen to enable two-man patrols, better equipment such as riot helmets, and more shotguns. By the way, some men have had to buy their own shotguns for on-duty use. More police cars will be requested and more parking space for the patrol units, especially around City Hall. The Council will probably recognize the Police Association's needs as all being valid requests, but they most assuredly will all cost money, a fact which will probably prevent the Council from filling most of those needs. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Judge Howard Green has asked for the resignation of Mrs. Ann Marek, whom he appointed to the Community Action Agency Board over a year ago. He calls that appointment now a mistake because he says Mrs. Marek has become too controversial to remain on the board.
Mrs. Marek is a very intelligent person. She's very dedicated, and on occasion she's done a very excellent job. But I think Ms. Marek has become needlessly controversial on the board, and I think both she and the board probably would be better off if she would submit her resignation. It's unfortunate when the board becomes sometimes divided between factions, and board members themselves create more controversy, I think, personality-wise than they should.
Mrs. Marek has been an outspoken board member, and she has indeed clashed with what she calls establishment representatives. Green admits that she is sincere and has the best interests of the CAA at heart. She agrees with that analysis, but says that without action to right the wrongs that exist in the poverty program, all the best intentions in the world won't help the poor.
Because, you know, CAA is supposed to go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
It's there to go out of business. It's there to help identify problems, to spin off programs, to work with other agencies and building those agencies. And once all these things are spun off, then CAA goes out of business. It was never meant to be a permanent part of any community.
Well, go out of business.
No, I think the reason I'm not resigning is that I don't think being controversial is a reason to resign, and I've not been given any other reason to resign. I feel that it would be very dangerous if I did resign because a few people made phone calls to Judge Green.
It appears that Judge Green will have his way and will succeed in removing Ann Marek from the board, but it'll have to be a power play because she's not leaving willingly. It seems ironic that Green's efforts to stem controversy within the poverty program are themselves fostering controversy. But as Mrs. Marek herself says, controversy is sometimes good. Maybe so, maybe not. I'm Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
I've been real satisfied with it, Jerry. So far, it's kind of coming out. If I make it these last 2 weeks, I'll be doing pretty good.
You think you've got a chance of catching McClard?
Well, it'd be really very unlikely that I would. As you know, he's got 3 more than I do, with the exception that he does have only 1 more game, whereas we have 2. He would have to miss all of his if he has any attempts in this game, and I would have to make about 4 in the next 2 games, which would be kind of unusual.
Of the 24 you've kicked, let's go back and pick out a few that have been outstanding.
Well, I guess the first one that pops into my mind was probably the first one I kicked when I was a sophomore against TCU. It was the very first field goal that I ever kicked in collegiate ball. And we barely won that game by a couple of points, I think. And also the A&M game last year where I kicked a couple. I guess those are probably the 2 highlights.
If you stepped outside this morning and found it a little nippy, you found that your wardrobe should include a heavy coat, you probably had just cause. The thermometer dipped down into the upper 30s last night. At 8 o'clock this morning, it was 41 degrees. My initial thoughts were to go back in and go to bed. However, there are some who didn't have that in mind. Let's talk to one lady. Ms. Rosinka.
Yes.
How does anyone swim in this kind of weather?
It is very easy to swim in this kind of weather because the air temperature keeps the temperature in the pool, which the pool water is 74, exactly even. If you walk slowly into the pool and let the temperature of the water change the temperature of your body, you can come in and swim quite comfortably. We swim all winter outside.
Does it ever get too cold for you?
No, last year when it was 18 and 25 and even the one day it was 11 degrees above, I swam and the two girls that couldn't swim with me sat at the side of the pool and watched me to make sure everything was a-okay.
Is there any particular reason why you swim every morning?
Yes, there is. The women in the background and myself swim to keep our bodies healthy and also to increase lung capacity, to have good breath control and no heart trouble.
Well, I guess I'm a health bug as well as anyone else, but I think I'll stick to my top coat and the warm heater. Gene McIntyre for Channel 8 News on the Move.
The 2,800 delegates of the annual Parent Teachers Association statewide convention in Dallas met two highly controversial issues headstrong in last night's voting session. Today winds up the 62nd annual PTA convention at Dallas Memorial Auditorium. This was the third day of the convention where all 8 resolutions were passed without significant change. Awards were presented to individuals, and Ruby Clayton McKee of the Dallas Morning News is recognized for covering the PTA convention for 42 years. The state PTA delegates voted last night to officially oppose forced busing as a means to achieve racial balance. In other action, the group resolved to actively seek the freedom to pray in public schools. The council is recommending a presidential declaration of national emergency to halt all forced busing until the U.S. Constitution can be amended, and they are actively supporting the neighborhood school concept. This is Donna Witkowski from Memorial Auditorium, Dallas, at the PTA convention for Channel 8 News on the Move.